Good afternoon, everyone. Purim is around the corner, and our topic today will discuss something unusual that we have in Purim, very unusual from a Jewish point of view. And this is a mitzvah to eat Seudas Purim, and in the Seudah, not just to eat, but also to drink, and not water, but heavy drinks, a lot of wine. And the Gemara says in Masechet Megillah that we should drink to the point that we will not be able to differentiate between Or Haman to Baruch Mordechai. Just in order to have a sense of how extreme it is, we're talking about the people who yesterday night went to read the Megillah and listen to it carefully and repeat it in the morning. So if you ask anybody before the Seudah, it's very clear who is the good guy and who is the bad guy in the Megillah. Very clear. So the mitzvah is to drink until, if somebody will ask you, what do you think about Mordechai? If you still think that Mordechai is a good guy, you're not drunk enough. You have to get to the point that when somebody will mention Mordechai, you'll say, he's such a wicked, and Haman is the best guy ever. So you have to be very, very drunk. Now, it's weird because we used to think that to be stable, to be sober, to be in control is the minimum that the Torah asks from a Jew. And usually this is the case, but not in Purim. There is something very, very deep about it that I hope our 45 minutes that we have maybe will cover the main points of it. What behind it? What is the idea? I want to start from a Gemara in Maseches Chulin. You might heard about it, The Gemara, I'll quote just a few lines from this Gemara. The Gemara says that in Bavel was a city called Papona. And the Jewish scholars, the Rabbanim of Papona, ask interesting question to one of the Amoraim, Rav Matna. They have over there a list of few questions. 3 of them relate to Purim, so I mentioned them. And the question was not usual questions. The questions were about the hint level in the Torah. We have Pshat, Remez, Drash, and so they asked about the hint. And they want to know about few people, there are more than 3 over there, but I'll mention 3, where they are hinted in the Torah. We know that there is nothing that not in the Torah, so they relate to this. So the first question was, Haman min hatayra minayin. Where is Haman hinted in the Torah? Of course, Haman as a person lived many, many years after Moshe Rabbeinu wrote the Torah. But again, because there is nothing that not hinted, it must be there. So where is Haman in the Torah? The second question was Esther min hatayra minayin. And the third that out of all questions that are there, Mordechai min hatayra minayin. So the answer was the following. Haman min hatayra minayin, he answered them. Haman hinted in the beginning of the Torah, Sefer Bereshis, Parshas Bereshis, Hamin ha'etz asher tziviticha lebilti achol mimenu achalta. If you remember, let me just give the picture. We're talking about the first time that Adam, any Adam, we're talking about Adam Rishon, commanded by Hashem to do something, and he did just the opposite. Chat Adam Rishon. Hashem told him, don't eat from Etz Hadat Tov V'Ra. And the Nachash says, Hashem said, so I'll say the opposite. I'm suggesting you to eat from it. And they ate. After they ate, it mentioned, v'nifkechu eineihem. Their eyes were opened. And when they heard, וישמעו את כל השם אלוקים מתהלך בגן לרוח היום, they hid. So Kadosh Baruch Hu approached them and says to Adam, Ayeka, where are you? So he said the following, את קולך שמעתי בגן, ואירא, כי ערום אנוכי ואחווה. I heard your voice and I was ashamed or scared or both, and I hid. So Hashem asked him, מי הגיד לך כי ערום אתה? How do you know? המין העץ אשר ציוויתיך לבלתי אכול ממנו אכלת? You ate from the tree. So the words of the Torah, המין העץ. Rav Magna told him, here is Haman, on this tree. On this tree. You know for sure that Haman was hanged on the tree, right? It's the same tree. I'll get to this later. It's the same tree. Okay. Of course, we could find in the Torah many other places that we could get the combination of the letters Hey, Mem, and Nun. One of them even more easy, like the man that was falling in the desert, right? Haman, it's even more closer in the Nikud, right? In the Nikudos. But no, it's not there. It's in this tree. Etz Hadat Tova. Okay. About the other question about Esther. Esther min HaTorah Minayim. Here, we take them to the end of the Torah. Sefer Devarim, at the end of it, Moshe Rabbeinu, before he separated from the Jewish people and told them, I'm not crossing the Jordan River with you. So he gave them a tochecha and he said to them, I know that after I'll pass away, you will not do the mitzvos and the many problems. You're going to face many problems during the history. Umtsa'uhu ra'ot rabot v'tzarot. And Hashem told him to say, Hashem told Moshe Rabbeinu to say, that when those tzorros going to happen during the history, ve'anochi haster astir panai bayom hahu. I will hide my face, my present. Al kol ha'ra'ah shel asa, because they did it to such an extreme way. All this doing against Hashem. Okay. Here's Esther. Be aware that there is a double Hester over there. Ve'anochi haster astir panai bayom hahu. Mordechai min HaTorah Minayim. So here he comes to Sefer Shemot. We just read the tzivui about the Mishkan. And in the Mishkan there are two things that they should prepare from spices. The Shemen HaMishcha and the Ketoros HaSamim. The first spice in the Shemen HaMishcha is mor dror. Ve'ata kach lecha mor dror. And mor is the name of the spice. And the mor also was part of the Samimane HaKtoret. Mor dror, the Targum translates dror like dach, like something chopped to very small pieces. Mor dror. In Aramaic, it's meira dachya. Meira dachya, you find the letters of Mordechai there. So Mordechai is connected to the Ketores. I guess you heard something about the Ketores recently? So the Ketores is the connection between a human being to Hashem. And this is actually the secret that Malach HaMavet revealed to Moshe when he went up to get the Torah, right? And he told them, you know what? There is death in the world. The way to overcome it is by the Ketores. Now let's make the connection to our issue. If Haman is in Etz Hadat Tov V'Ra, which is actually Etz, the death tree, you know it was two trees over there, Etz HaChaim and Etz HaMavet. Etz Hadat Tov V'Ra is Etz HaMavet, right? Because when they eat from it, they brought death to the world. So Mordechai is the recipe, or to overcome it by the Ketores, because he is the Ketores, right? Okay? Now, the entire thing is very, very hidden. Hidden. Esther. What's the idea? Now, let's try to put things together. A question that, to answer it, we need a series of lectures, a series of shiurim about Chet Odom Rishon. Chet Odom Rishon is something very deep, very deep. It's one of the sugyas in the Torah that could not be understood in the simple level. I want to ask a few questions. I'm not going to answer all of them now, only those who relate to our issue, our topic. There is a tree in Gan Eden called Etz Hada'at Tov Vara. Forget about it. It's so not true to say that it was a tree over there that called the knowledge tree. No such a thing. אין דבר כזה עץ הדעת, no such a thing. דעת לא צומחת על עצים. You have to work hard in order to get that. What is, the name of the tree is עץ הדעת טוב ורע. And what I want to say is, it's not עץ הדעת, objective דעת, but it's specific דעת called טוב ורע. Now, the question is, why Hashem created this tree in the first place? If it's so good, so not good, right? The other thing, apparently when you read the simple level of the psukim, you would think that the Torah says that after they ate, that was the temptation of the Nachash. She told them, if you will eat from this tree, your eyes will be open. And it's mentioned that right after they ate from this tree, their eyes were opened. So apparently you could ask, so why Hashem didn't want this Adam and Chava to eat from this tree? He doesn't want them to be smart. He wants them to be dumb, not be able to understand things. What's the idea? And what was the big chet, the big sin over here? In order to understand it, to a certain extent, I mean, there are a lot of details, but Rambam, Rabbi Moshe ben Maimon, in his philosophical book, Moreh HaNevuchim, the book divided into 3 parts. In Chelek Aleph, part 1, chapter 2, the Rambam brings the following thing. He said that not too long ago, one of the Rabbanim sent him a question. And the question was, we need to understand the background in order to understand how strong was the question. Rambam, aside from being a great Rav, he was also a scientist or philosopher, right? So in his conception, and that was the atmosphere of the people at the time, including this particular Rav, to be rational, to be logic is so important. This is the thing that made us human. The more we are intellectual, intelligent, could think right, logic right. So this Rav asked the following question. When I read Sefer Bereshit, it seems to me that Adam Rishon got his madrega as an intelligent person by just doing against what Hashem wants. It doesn't make any sense. How he got the gift to be so smart and so intelligent by doing an avera? That was a question. The answer of the Rambam is just a whole revolution of everything that we think we know about Chet HaDavar. The Rambam's answer is the following. First of all, I'm not going to answer your question because there is no question. Your question is based on a wrong assumption. I'll just prove you that the assumption is wrong, then you'll know that there is no question. So what was the assumption? The assumption is that before Adam Rishon ate from Etz Hadat Tovara, he has no doubt. And then later on he got the dot. So the Rambam said, wrong. Adam Rishon, before he ate from Etz Hadat Tovara, has a lot of dot. He was very smart. To prove it, the fact is that Hashem commanded him before he ate, right? Hashem commanded him, from those three you could eat, from this tree don't eat, and he told him the implication. If you will eat, then if he was not able to understand what Hashem's saying, there is no point to command him. There is no point to command the chair to do or not to do something, a wall, right? So the fact that he was bar tzivui, that Hashem commanded him, shows that he, before that, could understand things. So this is the first thing. Now the other thing he said, what's the impact of the Achila Me'etz Hadat Tovara was not elevating his level of knowledge, but put the highest level that he had before down tremendously. So after Achila Me'etz Hadat Tovara, he became with much less da'at than before. How? Let's go back to the name of the tree. The name of the tree is Etz Hadat Tov Vara. I want to write down on the board over here that we do not have 4 notions, 2 pairs, and ask you a question. Don't rush to answer. It's very tricky. Okay, first let's write it down. We'll take the board, divide it to 4 boxes. In the box in the right side up, we'll write the word Emet. Emes, truth. Just opposite of it, in the left side, we'll write the word sheker. False, lie. Now, this is the first pair. The second pair is, under the Emet, we'll write the word tov. And in the left side, just opposite of it, ra. Okay? Here's the notions. 2 pairs. My question to you is, do you think that those 2 pairs are identical? Don't rush to answer. Wait, I want to ask actually 2 questions that will be, seems, first look or first impression the same, but they are not. The question is Emet always tov? True is always good? And and if sheker is always ra? This is question number 1. Question number 2, which seems the same but it's not, is ra always sheker and is tov always emet? In brief, what do you think? First of all, are they identical, yes or no? The 2 pairs. I mean, emet and tov, it's the same or not? Yes. Okay, so we have a machlekes over here. Typical Jews. Okay, so we have some opinions that they are identical, the other are not identical. Okay, let's start from those who say that. What? Okay. I'm not talking about when we talk about Emet and sheker, tov, ra. I'm not talking about from the absolute point of view from Hashem. Okay? Are they identical, yes or no? We have 2 opinions, of course. Let's start from those who say that they are not identical. Okay? If they are not identical, the question is why? I mean, it's not just, the answer should not be yes or no, but I need reasons. Let's start from this. Is Emet always good?
To say the Emet, you say?
האם אמת זה תמיד טוב? This is the question. What do you think?
No.
Depend to who?
Yeah. It's not always
What do you
good.
mean?
Well, it's good for me. It's not good for somebody else. If it's fake, it's good for the development. It's not good for
Okay. I heard the word that I wanted to hear. It's relative. It's relative, right? When you speak about good, good could be good for one person and not good to the other, right? So the second pair, good and bad, are relative notions. It's very relative. The first pair, Emet and sheker, are absolute notions. They are absolute. let me explain in more details both, because it's needed. First of all, start from Emet. What is Emet? What's the definition of Emet? Emet is reality. Emet is real reality. In the word, again, of those of you who knows the letters in the Hebrew alphabet and appreciate the Hebrew, you could see an amazing thing. Take the letters, Aleph, Mem, and Taf, right? Change the order and put the Taf first, and then Aleph, and then Mem. You'll get Ta'am. No, Ta'am. Taf, Mem, Aleph. Taf, Aleph, Mem. Taf, Aleph, Mem. Taf, Aleph, Mem is a Ta'am. Ta'am is to match. Lehat'im. Now, the definition of truth is the following. If there is a reality, there is things. Let's say, for example, we have a table. And now I'm looking at the table. If in my way to understand it, I look at it, I say, this is the table. So there is a match between the table and what I think about it. This is Emet. If I look at the table and I look at it and look at it and I say, this is a book. There is no match between what I think and the reality, right? This is sheker. Now, things like this could happen. That people will see things, understand them not the way they are, right? It happened a lot during the history. Let's say, even in science, many things we didn't know until they was discovered, right? Now, we have to know that always when there is no match between the thing and the way I see it, the mistake is always not in the thing, but in my way to get, to understand it. Always. So this is Emet. Now, Emet is objective, the reality, and even if nobody in the world will know about it, it's there. Meaning, it's not, the Emet, the reality will not get the validation to exist because people know about it. For example, the microbes, before Louis Pasteur discovered those little thingies, we didn't know about them. But because we didn't know about them, they weren't exist, they were there. Before Columbus discovered America, America was there. Nobody knows about it, fine. So it's not a problem of the place, of the thing, it's a problem of the people, right? So therefore we have to know, again, Emet is reality, is the real reality. Therefore it's objective. When we speak about good, any good in the world, in our language, is always relative. I always like the following example, I'll give it here again, too. Imagine that when I'm thirsty, my favorite drink is fresh orange juice. Okay? So let's say I'm thirsty, and people ask me, what do you like to drink? Orange juice. Do you have orange juice? Yes, I got the orange juice. I sip from it, and people ask me, what do you think? It's good. So I'm just saying this is good. It could be that in the same room, there are many people who will think that it's not good for them. They have allergy from it. So there is a machlokes if it's good or not. I think it's good. I'm very aware, very sure. Other people could think the same about it, and nobody's wrong. Because I don't know how they said it in English, but in Hebrew you said, Al ta'am v'reach en leitvakeach.
One man's meat is another person's poison.
Okay. Why, lama en ta'am? No point to argue about taste. Why? Because everybody tastes in their particular way to taste it. So in advance, it's a relative thing. It's a relative thing. And even for me that like oranges when I'm thirsty, if I'm thirsty, but I have another few problems, I'm hungry too. and I'm tired and I'm edgy. Oranges could solve perfectly my thirst problem, but it will not be good for me for other things, right? So, take it as an example. Every time that you heard the word tov, good, you have to ask at least two questions. Tov lemi, tov for who, and tov lema, tov for what? And anything that could be good for you could be not good to others. Not anything that could be good for a certain purpose will not be good for other purposes. And even for me, let me see if it's even more relative than you think. Even for me who like orange juice, when I'm thirsty, it's good when I'm really thirsty. What if I drank 1, 2, 3 cups of orange juice and people ask me, it's so good, take another one. I can't. If they will force me to do it, I will think it's not good. So another question that you have to ask, tov for who, good for what, and good until when? And what good until could be not good from, right? So this is the essence of good. And the same thing with bad, because yediat ha'afachim achat. So the bottom line is, Emet sheker are absolute notions. Tov v'ra are relative notions. Now, when Adam Rishon ate from Etzadat Tov v'ra, the Rambam says the following. Before that, he was in the level that he saw everything from the point of view of true or false. That's it. The notions Tov v'ra was not in their system at all. Therefore, their way to look was with much clarity. When they added to it the notions of Tov v'ra, they made their clarity less. Why? Because Tov, relative Tov, could be very not true. And this is the answer about the question. Is Tov always Emet? Absolutely not. It's not always not Emet, but for sure it's not must be. Take a little kid, offer them candies, ask them what they feel. Good. Could you give more? Giving them more and more and more, and they will always say it's good. If their mother will show you, they will take away from the candies. Why? Because she's so not nice. She sees things that the child could not see. The parameter of the child to decide that this is good is only because it tastes good. What they do not know that if they will eat too much candy, they'll have no ability to eat a healthy food that they need. They need the vitamins. So the mother sees it, the child didn't. The mother could see the problems that gonna be with the teeth of this child, the visits in the dentist, but the child never think about this thing. So, and it's not just children. We have to know, in each one of us there is a little little child, right? And this is the terrible thing that happened after Chet Adam Rishon. After Chet Adam Rishon, there is a possibility, which is so popular, unfortunately, that people will do things, believe and feel that it's so good, but it's so not true. That's what happened after the Chet, after Chet Adam Rishon. Therefore, Hashem told him, don't do it. You are now in a so good clarity. If you will do it, you will reduce it. So the question is, of course, so why they did it? And here we have to come to the Nachash and explain what was the temptation, what the Nachash wanted, why he offered them this. I have no time now to go to this in details, but we have to know that the Ari HaKadosh says that Chet Adam Rishon was Avera Lishma. It wasn't just, he didn't know what he's doing. He knew exactly what he's doing and he did it on purpose. In brief, when the Nachash came to Chava and offered her to eat from the tree, he said the following. She said, ומן העץ אשר בתוך הגן אמר אלוקים לא תאכלו ממנו ולא תיגעו בו פן תמותון. So the Nachash says, לא מות תמותון. And then he continued, he said the following, כי יודע אלוקים, Hashem knows, כי ביום אכולכם ממנו ונפקחו עיניכם והייתם כאלוקים יודעי טוב ורע. That's what she said. Rashi on the spot about the words Yod'ei Tov Vara said something interesting. He said, Yod'ei Tov Vara, Yotzrei Olamot. You will be able to create worlds. Wow, what a temptation. Who needs more words? Let's deal with what we have. What's the idea? And then she said, okay. After she heard this, it's written in the pasuk. ותרא האישה, כי טוב העץ למאכל, וכי תאווה הוא לעיניים, ונחמד העץ להשכיל. Three things. טוב העץ למאכל, it's good, it tastes good. תאווה לעיניים, it mentions already desire to the eye, ונחמד העץ להשכיל. And if you eat from it, you'll have a level of haskala, intellect or other aspect that they do not have now of ability to think. What was the motive? What he offered them? And why they decided to do it? Rashi says, this is the key. The key is what Rashi says. Yotzrei olamot. Yotzrei olamot, you will be able to create olamot. And I'm using the word in Hebrew, not in English, not worlds, olamot. You probably knew that, you heard it maybe before, that the root of the word olam are the letter ayin lamed mem. Ne'elam, ha'alama, right? Okay, good. Half of my work is done. Ha'alama is concealment. Ha'olam is a concealment. What's the world hiding? The world hiding. What the world is hiding? It's hiding the cause of it. If you look at the world, you could think mistakenly that everything could be explained within the system. You do not need a creator who created it or running it. It seems that it goes by itself. Therefore, the olam is ha'alama. And it's connected to Esther, because Esther is Hester. Hester is a ha'alama. Esther, the strategy of Mordechai was telling to Esther, don't reveal that you are Jewish. You will do it at the right time. And that's what actually how it works. When Ahasuerus heard in the Mishnah that she is Jewish, he was in shock, and that's what turned everything over, right? So it's connected. World, Esther, and you know what? Another thing that we will add. There is a custom in Purim. It's not a halacha, but it's a custom. And we know that minhag Yisrael dinu, to dress up. Right? The main thing in the dressing up is the mask. The mask is hiding who you are. And this is Olam, and this is Hester, and this is Astara, and this is the mask. It's not just to make things funny. It's to make things shows just the opposite of what they really are. Okay? Now, when the Nachash offered them to create more concealment, actually that's what he said. Hashem created the world with a certain concealment. Add to it. Add to it the notions of Tov Vera, which are relative notions. Then the truth will be more hard to reach. Then you should work more hard in order to reveal the truth. Then you'll get more credit for this. That was the Avera Lishma. And this is what really happened. Now, who was the Nachash? The Nachash, it's mentioned in the Medrash, in Pirkei Rabbi Eliezer, it's mentioned that the Nachash was Kemin Gamal, because if you remember, he got the punishment and his hands and legs was cut off. if you take a snake that we know today, add to it legs, right, and hands, it will look like a dinosaur. Interesting, right? Okay, that's what he was. And the Medrash says, Kemin Gamal, like a camel. And the Medrash says that this camel, this Nachash, has a rider on it. And the rider is the Sitra Achra, the negative spiritual power that Hashem created in order to have Bechira. So the Nachash came and offered them to hide more, to make the truth more hard to get. And they got it. They paid the price, but they were willing to pay the price of death, temporary death, in order to increase their credit by when they will work and to reveal the truth. Okay. Now we said that the Nachash, okay, in Kabbalah sources it mentioned that every nation in the world has an angel who was in charge of the nation. The angel of Esau, Amalek, and Haman came from Amalek, is the Sitra Achra itself, is the supreme negative spiritual power. Now, let's go back to understand the thing that we started. In Purim, we have a mitzvah to take the das and midat intentionally go drunk in order to give up our dat. Right? That's what we're doing. Ad de lo yoda. Ad de lo yoda. The Ari HaKadosh says, you probably heard about this, that there are two dates in the Jewish calendar that heard the same, but they look so opposite. Purim and Yom Hakippurim. The Ari said not that just there is a connection, but he says something amazing, that Purim is higher, in higher spiritual level than Yom Hakippurim. If you take the word Kippurim, you will find that the letter Pei, Resh, Vav, Yud, Mem are in Purim and in Yom Hakippurim. Kippurim is just with a kaf in the beginning. The kaf is kaf hadimion, is like. So Kippurim is like Purim. So Purim is higher. And again, what's higher? Purim is a fun day, right? Yom Kippur is a serious day. Here's the explanation. In Yom Kippur, we trying to be focused on the truth. And we know that we are not, even if we know the truth, during the year we made many things not according to the truth. So in Yom Kippur, we fast, we diminish the physical in order to be spiritual. In Purim, we have to eat and drink and feed the physical and yet be spiritual, which is higher. The way to do it is to drink until you give up your ability to think. Why do you want to give it up? Because what we sang actually, we sang to Hashem, listen, we do not want this da'at that we have. Because this da'at is the wrong da'at. After the achila from Etz da'at tov v'ra, we want to give this up in order to get higher da'at, your da'at. Remember the trees in Gan Eden? Let me give them two other names. Etz HaChaim, the original's names. Etz HaChaim, Etz da'at tov v'ra. Etz HaChaim, Etz da'at tov v'ra is Etz HaMavet. We said that before, right? If this Etz HaChaim, this is Etz HaMavet. So, this is the death tree. Because if you eat from it, you're going to die. Now let's change the other name of the other tree. If this is Etz Hada'at Tov Vara, the other one is Etz Hada'at, objectively. Etz Hada'at Ha'amiti, the real Das. Bilam was the highest spiritual person among the Gentiles. The Medrash comparing to Moshe Rabbeinu. Of course, the Havdil ben Tahor ben Tameh, lahavdil. But he was in the highest level. In the pasuk, on the pasuk at the end of the Torah, "Velo kam b'Yisrael navi od k'Moshe." Was no navi like Moshe Rabbeinu. The Medrash says, "B'Yisrael lo kam, aval be'umot ha'olam kam." Umanu Bilam. Bilam is the
Counterpart of yours.
the parallel to Moshe. But Bilam himself was not a navi. He was a kosem, a magician, and he used negative spiritual powers in order to get whatever he got. When he came to curse the Jewish people, when Balak called him, Hashem told him, "Don't go. You cannot curse them. They are blessed." He asked the question again, and Hashem told him, "You know what? I told you don't go. You want to go. בדרך שאדם רוצה ללך בה מוליכים אותו. You want to go. But you could not curse them. You're going to go. When you're going to talk, you will not talk. I will put the things in your mouth." And he came and he tried to curse, and blessing came out of him from his mouth. Hashem says, "Vayafach Hashem Elokecha et haklala livracha." He turned it to bracha. Bilam, the first time in his life, was not in control of what he's saying. He was so impressed because he came to curse. He was wicked. He wants to kill the Jewish people. He was so impressed, and at certain point he said the following in the Nevuah of Bilam: "Ne'um Bil'am b'no be'or, ne'um yodea da'at elyon, machaze shadai yechze, nofel uglui enayim." And he used the word yodea da'at elyon. He was in shock because he has an opportunity against his will to be connected with the real da'at elyon. And this is the da'at of Etz Chaim, of Moshe Rabbeinu. Because the opposite of Bilam is Moshe. Moshe Rabbeinu is Torah, is Etz Chaim. Etz Chaim ilam chazakim b'vetomchei hamushar. This is the real da'at. The avodah in Purim is to give up the Etz Adat Tov Vara in order to be connected to the highest da'at, to the highest da'at. Haman is the representative of Etz Adat Tov Vara. The essence of Da'at Tov Vara is relative. Relative is always temporary. Always temporary. Meaning there is end to it. There is death to it. Therefore, Achilah Me'etz Da'at Tov Vara, when they eat from Etz Da'at Tov Vara, they become mortal. Because relative things could be good only temporary. They will reach the end point. And this is the etz of Haman, that he hanged on it. He was the representative of this thing, and he hanged on it. The way to do it, the strategy of Mordechai is telling Esther, hide. Don't reveal that you are Jewish. Put a mask on you. The Gemara says in Maseches Megillah, in the Megillah Esther, only once mentioned the other name of Esther. Hadassah, he Esther, Vayhi omenet Hadassah, he Esther bat Dodo. So the Gemara asked, what was her real name? Hadassah or Esther? And the Gemara brings few opinions. One of the opinions says, the real name is Hadassah. Why they called her Esther? שהייתה מסתרת את מעשיה. She was hiding. She was hiding. We know Esther as Esther. In the Megillah, she's mentioned Esther, Esther, Esther. We call the Megillah Megillah's Esther. Esther is a Hester. And actually it was a double Hester over there. Why? Because it was in Golus. We were in Golus. This is the first Hester. But we were in Golus Porus. But the one who wants to kill us was Amalek from Golus Edom. So it was his Hester in Hester. And the way to do it is by hiding. Megillah's Esther, if you take the word Megillah, it's Gilui. It's the Gilui HaHester. At the end of days, that's what's going to happen. We have to know. Rambam brings the halacha that at the end of days, כל ספרי הנביאים והכתובים עתידים להתבטל. ספרי הנביאים, the Nevi'im and the Ksuvim, not the Torah, yes? Tanakh, Torah, Nevi'im, and Ksuvim. כל ספרי הנביאים והכתובים עתידים להתבטל. They will not be relevant anymore at the גאולה at the end of days. חוץ ממגילת אסתר. Megillah Esther will be relevant even at the time of the Geula, the complete Geula, at the time of Mashiach. The question is, of course, what do you mean Atidim Itbatel? How? It's the Torah. Hashem spoke to Yeshayahu, to Yirmiyahu, to the Nevi'im. What do you mean Atidim Itbatel? The meaning of it, in the Jewish calendar, we have few not too good dates on the calendar, which is Tisha B'Av, Yud Zayin B'Tammuz, Asar B'Tevet, Tzom Gedalim. All of those events happened after the time of Moshe Rabbeinu, at the time of the Nevi'im, right? This will not be relevant anymore because Tzom HaRevi'i v'Tzom HaChamishi v'Tzom עתידים להיות לששון ולשמחה. It will be not relevant anymore. But not Megillah Esther. Purim, in Megillah Esther, it's mentioned in the Megillah itself. וימי הפורים האלה לא יעברו מתוך היהודים וזכרם לא יסוף מזרעם. It will never be irrelevant. What is the story? The story is that what happened in micro, in Megillah Esther, it happened during 9 years, משנת 3 למלך אחשוורוש עד שנת 12, from the 3rd year of his kingdom to the 12th year. In 9 years, what happened over there, in micro, gonna happen in macro in the history. What happened over there was, think, or if you follow the Megillah from the beginning, follow Haman, which is the bad guy in the Megillah, he was always going up and up and up and up and up and up and up to the last moment. To the last moment. 1 minute before he answered the question of Ahasuerus, when Ahasuerus told him, listen, you're an expert in, how to make honor to people. I have somebody that I really want to honor. Give me your advice. ויאמר המן בליבו, למי יחפוץ המלך לעשות עיקר יותר ממני? Of course he's talking about me. And then he said, you know what, you honored me so much, but if you really want more, I want your crown. I want your horse. I want your clothes. When he said that, he has no clue what's going to happen in the next moment. But it happened. He told him, go do all of this to Mordechai. What? Could you imagine the shock? The shock is unbelievable. And it ended up later on when at the Mishnah, Ahasuerus says, ויאמר המלך תלוהו עליו. Where עליו? על העץ אשר הכין למרדכי. Because he came in the morning, לאמור למלך, it's written in the Megillah, those words, לאמור למלך, לתלות את מרדכי על העץ אשר הכין לו. מי הכין למי? Who offered to who? He made it for himself. That's what's going to end at the end of the history. At the end of the history, all the evil that grow and grow and grow from Bereshis until now. We see the truth, nobody cares about the truth. How many people in the world know the truth? And how much they appreciate it? Nothing. All of this is going to change. This is the V'nahafochu. Therefore, Megillah Esther is not going to be relevant big time at the end of days. This is it. The Ketoris is Mordechai. Mordechai is the medicine for the disease called Etz Hadat Tovara. Mordechai is the reconnection. Ketoret is kesher, likshor, to reconnect men to God, to the truth, to Etz HaChaim. Okay, with this information, I hope we could be Mekayim Ad Lo Yoda this year with a little upgrade than last year.
Wow.
Thank you.
Free wine now?
What is this?
Are you giving